How are we accidentally starting a satanic panic?
Hello and welcome to Did I Do That? It's a podcast about graphic designers making mistakes, because when it comes to making just about anything, it's all part of the process. I'm Sean Schumacher, and joining me today, a very special guest. She's a creative director, illustrator, and writer whose work with the likes of Oatly, Spotify, Apple, IDEO, and more helped earn her a coveted place on Ad Age's 40 Under 40 list in 2023. She's written and illustrated 3 books, the most recent of which is LOL 101, A Kid's Guide to Writing Jokes. And it was a #1 bestseller at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and was honored by accolades from the ALA, Good Housekeeping, and the Junior Library Guild. These days, she serves as executive creative director at the sleep wellness company Hatch. It's Rinee Shah. Hi!
Hello.
I don't know how to talk today. I'm so sorry. It's not like I have to talk for a living, so that shouldn't be a problem.
It's a weekend, though, so that's your excuse.
My brain just shut off when Saturday rolled around, which is going to be a problem. I will say, though, I think there is maybe something else that is influencing my inability to speak as of late, which is like, I've not been sleeping super well. I'm sure this is a problem you're familiar with. You work at a sleep wellness company.
Talk about it all the time. Yeah.
I can't think of any reason why, though. Maybe I and other people would not be sleeping well right now.
Right. What could possibly be keeping you up?
It's so like normal, the world and everything. I will say, though, there's one thing that has been bringing me comfort in this time and occasionally helping me actually sleep. And that is my good friend and close companion, the Sleepytime tea bear. You're familiar with the Sleepytime tea bear, I assume.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
For those of you who maybe aren't, he's a bear. That's an important place to start. And I mean bear in the sense that he is the animal and not just a hairy gentleman. But he wears a red hooded cap and a sleeping gown like he's living in the 19th century. And he's kind of sleeping in an armchair in front of a roaring fire that will probably burn his house down, because there doesn't seem to be anything preventing that from happening.
Yeah.
So, it's a beautiful painted illustration.
Oh, I think it's iconic.
It's so iconic. It is, in a weird way, I feel like it never gets talked about, but it is one of the most like iconic pieces of American packaging like that exists. It's just like,
yeah.
I can't imagine. I think it was actually about 10 years ago that they tried to remove the Sleepytime bear from the like house that he lives in, and everybody was immediately like, no, we do not accept this.
Yeah, I remember when I first started at Hatch, like I think the Sleepytime tea social account commented on one of our posts, and I think I gasped.
Oh my god!
And then I was like, wait, what am I excited about?
I hope that they are not like one of those brands that has like, the Wendy's, like we're a little surly.
Oh my god, that Wendy's account is so aggressive.
It's the energy that I expect from a visit to Wendy's. I don't know that I want that on like the social media for Wendy's.
Actively trolling people.
Yeah, it seems like everybody in the world is actively trolling people these days. It's getting a little exhausting. But that's a powerful connection then to have with the Sleepytime tea bear.
Yeah.
So the other night, like as I was trying to like doze off after a cuppa, I was like thinking about that art, and I was really realizing like I don't really know where it comes from. I don't know what the origins are of this art. And so I looked it up. It's illustrated in 1973 by an artist named Beth Underwood, who was the sister of one of the founders of Celestial Seasonings. So it's a little bit of a Nepo project, but I think it really worked.
Yeah.
So
Beth, where are you?
Yeah,
we want
Beth,
to celebrate
you. That's a real misstep on my part. I should have looked up what other art of Beth's is out there, because I would maybe love to have an original Beth on my wall. But I think what is amazing about, the world that Beth created is that it is a world, I think really truly. Like that's why people rejected the Sleepytime tea bear in the white void.
Well, he's so cozy in his house.
He's so cozy in his house that's about to burn down. But like, there is a lot of variation even within the more illustrated Sleepytime tea bears. Like sometimes he's just like, like out in a field, and sometimes he's in a rowboat with an owl at his feet and covered in lavender, presumably because he has died and is about to have a flaming arrow fired at the boat by his Viking bear brethren. But like, there's also like non-bear parts of the Celestial Seasonings universe too, like a unicorn with a wizard, and there's a giant tiger, and there's some weird ones where like the sun is a giant orange. That one just is kind of deranged. Like, it does really seem like if you have a flavor and a vague variation on a motif, Celestial Seasonings is just like down to expand their cinematic universe to include it.
I mean, I never really thought about how the styles kind of changed from flavor to flavor. And even the fact that they're keeping Beth's artwork after so long.
Yeah. Well, it's like the wizard, I feel like, is a Beth. Like, it has the same like kind of painterly hand to it. But these new ones, they do feel like this is some digital art.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wonder how they make that decision about like what is art that we are keeping versus art that we're like just going completely, balls to the wall with.
I wish this was the kind of show where we could just like call the creative director. Like, what's going on over there?
Oh, if only I had the technology to have phone in podcast. For some reason, that's something that morning DJs have, but I don't have that ability anymore. We've lost so much over the past 2 decades of making audio. But, I love this world of the Sleepytime Tea Bear Box. It sounds like you do as well. But I also recognize that for every light, there must too be darkness. Hot requires cold. Sweet requires spicy. And so I sat down earlier this week and was asking myself, what is the packaging design that is most opposite to the Sleepytime tea? The polar opposite of that aesthetic. The next packaging legend to hoist up into the rafters as the apex of what our art form can create. And I was racking my brain, and then I realized that I should go to the place that is most adept at making me feel insane from one day to the next. And that is none other than Zupans. The laugh of knowledge. You've been to a Zupans.
Yes, I have.
Prices are really normal there, right? Super normal and accessible.
Really aspirational prices. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like the only place where you window shop for groceries.
You're going into town and you're just like, wow, someday we'll maybe be able to afford that. I feel like every city has a grocery store like this. It's kind of Portland's Erewhon, except like not cool.
Yeah.
If you are an elderly lady who owns a condo in a marina, then yeah, Zupans is great for you. But like, they only have weird shit, I feel like, because they are so expensive. And that was the perfect place to look for this. It totally delivered. And so enter what I discovered on my Zupans visit. But did not buy because it was way too expensive. Partana Mission Spicy Pepper Olive Oil, inspired by Chef Danny Boween's signature creations at Mission in New York City. I'm going to show you this packaging, and it is marvelous, is it not?
It's actually so fun.
Do you want to describe what's happening in this can, really? It is a can.
It's a can. Okay, so we've got like a shiny green-yellow background, and then it's very hand-drawn, all the type, but it's very detailed.
I would say it's almost like when you ask somebody who just does that like completely legible like metal band.
Yes, it's very metal.
But like in a more legible format than that usually takes.
Yeah. It also has sort of like comic book vibes.
100%. Yeah. 12-year-old who has read comic books and thinks they can make their own.
It's like a kid sketching with a pen in his notebook. It kind of has that vibe a little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But it would stop me in my tracks, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think the most important part though is the scene that is being set in the middle.
I can't really tell what's going on. There's peppers, and then there's people throwing it into a pit of fire.
I think that is.
But then surrounded by snow. So
yeah, I wonder if that white is just we only have so many colors, so this is what it is. But yeah, my read on that is that this is some sort of pepper hell. Because I was trying to think, where else would there be a giant lake of fire? And I mean Hawaii, but I think Hawaii has more trees than this.
Yeah.
So there are these figures, these perhaps damned characters, dragging these peppers into the fire, presumably to make the spicy chili oil. It is really, I would say, a remarkable piece of packaging art. I think it is like a true like 4-color like spot piece that there's just nothing that looks like this. So it struck me immediately. Not enough to buy it because I think it was like $35 for a 16-ounce can. Yeah. So this is what it says on the side. This spicy chili oil is made with Partana EVOO, infused with vitalizing spicy pepperoncino. Use it to recreate Chef Danny Boween's tingling sensations, made famous at Mission Chinese Food in New York. Nothing is off limits. Cook with it or drizzle it on grilled veggies, pizza, or fried rice, and in soups or salads. Feel the burn! 3 exclamation marks. So they're going aggressive. So, I think it is a very interesting piece of packaging in its own right. But I think what also like hammered home to me that like maybe there is some equivalency here is I looked up what Partana's regular cans look like, and I was greeted with a wonderful image of a can that I would say is probably the 1940s painted equivalent of the Windows XP Bliss wallpaper.
Yeah, it actually doesn't look that far from Celestial Seasonings. It's like
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. If Celestial Seasonings had a donkey in it, which
maybe
yeah.
They're gonna go
donkey tea coming soon. Yeah, maybe there's a donkey just outside a frame in the Windows XP Bliss wallpaper. We don't know. No one owned a widescreen monitor in those days, so we'll never have a way of finding out. But like, there's that connection. But I think the other thing that was really striking me as I was starting to go through is like, I could not find a single shout out to the artist of this incredible packaging. And that's wild to me because where have I ever seen a piece of packaging like this? Nowhere. Like it's a world. I couldn't find like any mention of it in any reviews of the chili oil on the Partana website or on like any of the Instagrams involved. Although I did finally find the artist. So shout out to Justin Hager out of New York City, who does art that is basically just like this. So delightful. But his Instagram is the only place I've ever seen anyone even give it accolades. Mela Cruzin says, hardest chili oil label ever. Rob Williamson says, God damn, that's some cool ass packaging. So, not in-depth reviews, but pretty good though. And I think the other thing that was kind of breaking my mind is that post announcing it was in 2020. This has been out for 6 years. Granted, it is primarily being sold in like nonsense stores like Zupans. So, maybe that's why I'm not encountering it, because it's, yeah. But, I do think that the world that it is describing has never been more relevant to our own. So I'm coming out here with an ask for the listeners of this show. I never do this, but I think we need to do it. I think this is a special one. I would love to see this sick design get the accolades that it deserves. I'm going to link to it in the show description so you can see it. But like, get onto all the places that review stuff, like Amazon, like other places, maybe the Zupan's website. I don't know what goes on over there.
Yeah, let's get Justin his roses.
Yeah,
right?
Let's get Justin his roses. Let's make sure that the world knows that this is the sort of damnation equivalent of the Sleepytime Bear universe. And what I am really excited about that is maybe if we are lucky, and definitely specifically mentioning both Justin and Sleepytime Tea Bear, maybe Celestial Seasonings will take notice and we will get the incredible power of a Justin-designed Celestial Seasonings tea that probably tastes really bad.
The crossover that no one knew they needed.
The undrinkable tea that is produced. So spicy. Rinee, you didn't come here to talk about the Celestial Seasonings Bear or this weird hell olive oil. You came here to talk about your journey into design. And that kind of started in childhood, right? Like you grew up in Orange County, am I right?
Yeah, it's technically LA County, but it's like on the border. So just
sure.
To be super accurate. But
so
yeah,
not in the OC.
Just like adjacent to the OC.
So kind of like whatever show was the lead-in to the OC.
Yeah.
Probably Arrested Development. Maybe that's why there were so many jokes about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was always drawing as a kid. From like a really young age, I was drawing. I was like writing little stories about, I'd have these like set characters of this like family and like their little adventures.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I just was like always kind of like working on something, even as a kid. But I grew up, my parents, immigrated from India. Like, there's kind of traditional South Asian parents. And so they were very much like, you are not pursuing art. You got to do the math and you got to do the science. And
Oh,
so
wow.
they were kind of just like, we're not going to sign you up for anything. Like, we're going to just like put this to the side. And so I kind of just was always doing it with this, I don't know, just this unshakable conviction that like I wanted to pursue it.
But it like becomes this kind of underground thing that you can't be
bit.
too proud about in front of them.
Yeah. I guess in their defense, they thought I would just be like a starving painter. Like, I don't think they were like, oh, she could do graphic design. Like, that just like wasn't in their mind in the like 80s and 90s.
No.
And my dad is an architect, and I think he struggled. I think architecture is a much different beast. I think there's a lot of hierarchy. I think it takes a long time before you're really like owning your work. And so I think for him, he was like, I don't want you to struggle like in the arts. I want you to focus on something that's very solid. Like, math is math. Like, no one can argue if it's good or bad. Joke's on him because I'm terrible at math. So there was always kind of that friction growing up with them.
But that's fascinating to think, like, in a way, though, designed to be like more the productive art. Architecture, I think, is often seen by people as the even more productive art than design. But yeah, there is that struggle of like, you're stuck drafting up like designs for parking structures and stuff like that.
Right. And like, for him, he's a South Asian man with an accent, like at a certain, like a different time. Like, I think he just kind of struggled in that environment a bit and didn't. I think he was always like, I wish I was an engineer.
Oh, really?
Because that is very straightforward.
Yeah.
It's not subjective of like, is the creativity good or not, So I think with that background, and also just I think the context of the era.
Yeah.
They were just like, you gotta do something super traditional.
Yeah. So, something that is going to be a predictable path. So you're kind of having to do like creative stuff, behind the scenes a little bit. And you end up going to UC San Diego, and your major is a little confused. How do you major in something called media arts,
parentheses computing,
which is just a lot of words that don't quite fit together.
Yeah.
How do you end up in that from, like being told like you are on the math and science path?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so fun fact about me is I'm a triplet. And and I have an older sister too, so there's 4 of us. And so when it came time for the 3 of us to go to school, it wasn't like the world is your oyster, wherever you want. It was like, you're going to a California state school.
Yeah.
Because that's what's affordable. And luckily, like, the UC system is amazing. There's a lot of great schools.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was looking at the schools that had some kind of design-related program. UCLA was the one that had the best, but you had to submit a portfolio.
Right.
And I didn't have any body of work.
No.
And so I don't know what I submitted. I'm sure it would be painful to look at now, but I didn't get in. And I did get into UCSD. And I was like, I don't know what this degree is. But it sounds close enough.
Like, did your parents look it over? Like, did they have any?
Oh, entire time they were like, you need to major in econ. And then maybe you can minor in this.
Wow.
And I was like, no.
As a former almost econ major, wow, you couldn't find a more different thing than design from that.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. And so to me, I was like, well, this is better than majoring in econ, even though this isn't a real design program.
Yeah. I mean, it's unclear what it is altogether.
Yeah.
I guess, like, what does it end up being? Because I did try to look it up and try to parse out what is in the degree.
That's a good question, Sean.
It does seem like kind of like in a way, like a choose your own adventure type.
It was a little choose your own adventure, but there was never any talk of like a design portfolio that you would leave with that would get you a design job. It was just like a lot of media theory.
Interesting.
And this was like 2001 when I started, so it was like early days of the internet. I remember, having a class or like a lecture about like what an internet meme is and like, like that kind of thing. It was like,
but that's early. That's
a lot of ideas
surprising.
Just kind of floating in the air. And I remember I had a class on like Flash, so I learned a little bit about animation there.
Oh, sure.
I think just like some class where we use Photoshop, but they never told us how to use it.
Oh, right.
I had a class on with Macromedia Director, which is like,
Oh, God.
Oh man, I don't know if anyone remembers that, but
yeah, imagine Flash, but worse, and everything has the most bizarre name that you can imagine for it.
Yeah.
Like, I think objects are called actors, if I remember right.
Oh my God.
Something really deranged like that.
Yeah. I mean, it does not exist anymore for a reason. So that was kind of my degree. And I truly wonder what everyone else who majored in it, what they ended up doing, because it was nothing really tangible. And I think maybe their thought was if you were really serious about art or design, you'd go get an MFA after.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because UCSC had a strong MFA program, but yeah, for just undergrad, it was I don't know what they thought we would end up doing at the end.
That is a great thought, because it probably is that they anticipate oh, you're going the academic route if you're in this, and probably will be in a comms program or something.
Professors were interesting and they had interesting work themselves, but in terms of any actual definitive skill set they were trying to get you out the door with, or here's how you pursue a design career, or here are the different types of things you can do, none of that was ever
It seems like a problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, while you're in college, you do the student radio station, right? Yeah. So that's kind of a facet of that.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Kind of. It was something I stumbled on my first couple of weeks in school, and just was really drawn to it. And it was probably the best part of college for me. It was that's where all my friends came from. It just was a really nice experience.
I mean, that sounds pretty good, honestly.
Yeah.
The other kind of major thing that you do is you end up being the art director and co-festival director of the San Diego International Film Festival.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild.
It was kind of wild because I started as an intern, and then I just really got along well with the two people that were running it. And by the end, they were it was really just the three of us doing it. We were screening all the submissions. I'd go over to, one of their houses, and we would just sit on the couch and watch our submissions. And then by the end, they were they just made me co-direct.
Hey, you want to help out too?
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, it was kind of a wild. Now in retrospect, I'm I can't believe they were just well, let's elevate this intern to this position. But I think the three of us were just kind of in it together.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
But also San Diego's a chill place. It would make sense, let's have a chill film festival, you know?
Yeah. I think, maybe if I want to put my rose-colored glasses on, not going through a strict design degree, I was never I'm a designer and that is all I'm going to do. I think I was always well, I just want to make things and tell stories. So maybe that's animation, or maybe that's something else.
Oh, sure.
And then towards the end of my time there, I was taking some video classes. So learning Final Cut Pro. Kind of just starting to tell these little video stories. Me and my friends, we're just doing silly stuff. We threw this bar mitzvah for someone's chinchilla. And so
I mean, I'm glad that the chinchilla is becoming a man. But
how
did that begin?
Documented that, and in class showed a little documentary about it.
Well, you got to show it to the chinchilla's grandparents who couldn't be there. Yeah.
So just kind of experimenting with other mediums, trying to figure out what kind of stories do I want to tell, or what feels natural.
That's fascinating. In a way, though, that is the kind of thing that would make sense for where you end up going for your internship immediately outside of college, because it's a place that tells a lot of really strange things like that. That kind of very weird approach to storytelling is so the Wieden and Kennedy way. How do you end up getting an internship at Wieden?
It's so funny because I didn't know anything about advertising. I had never heard of Wieden and Kennedy at all.
I mean, I guess it's you're pretty far away from it.
Pretty far away. And I don't know, I never really thought about where commercials come from. Or
so but you're doing media theory classes.
I don't know.
They didn't touch on that?
I mean, I never really thought about it. I think I just was oh yeah, commercials are the things you try to fast forward through, or
sure.
I never really thought of it as the creative expression. I think of it now in, not always creative expression, but sometimes it can be. But I was about to graduate. I don't have a portfolio. I don't really know what I'm going to do. I had a bunch of friends who were renting a house in San Diego, and I was like, yeah, I want to, live in this house with them. But there's not really a creative design scene in San Diego because if you were going to do it, you would just move to LA.
Yeah, that's the trouble.
And so
I experienced the same thing in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like,
and so the kinds of jobs I was applying for was like, graphic designer at like a real estate company or just, things like that where I was like, oh my God, I don't know. But there was this internship program that was based out of LA where they would place you at an ad agency in LA, and it was for minorities in advertising. So it was like a whole diversity thing. But I hate LA. I grew up near LA, and I always knew I never wanted to live there. I don't like driving.
That's going to be hard there.
It's going to be hard.
I don't think you can get away from it, really.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. And I don't know. I just never really... I didn't feel like that was the next place I wanted to go. And so this internship program was like, well, we have 2 or 3 spots in Portland, Oregon at White and Kennedy. And I was like, I don't know what White and Kennedy is, but it's not LA. So I'm going to apply to that one.
Did you have any notion of Portland, though?
No. And at the time in San Diego, people were like, you're moving where? After I got the job. It sounded like I was moving to like Tulsa, Oklahoma. They were just like, where are you? What are you doing? But yeah, I showed up to this interview and they liked that I was a radio DJ. I had a little bit of an illustration portfolio because I had gotten a Wacom tablet like a year before. So I just been drawing. And so they liked those 2 things about me. And I think that's why I got the gig.
That's incredible. But that means you're now up in Portland at Wyden. What do they make you, like, where do they put you within the organization?
I think they were like, oh, she's a radio DJ. We'll put her with the music supervisor, which in theory was a good idea, but he didn't have anything for me to do.
Maybe he doesn't get that many interns.
Like, it's kind of like a solo job to like be picking the music. And so I was literally in a corner and I was inputting all the director reels that we were getting.
Oh.
And I was like, this is a 10-week internship. I want to stay here, obviously. As soon as I walked in the building, I was like, okay, how do I stay here? And so I sort of talked my way into helping with video editing. Because it was an era, like now every creative can video edit. At the time,
it's so rare.
Not that many creatives also just knew Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, and you had that UCSD come through for you.
UCSD finally coming through.
They taught you a practical skill.
Yeah,
just
then
one,
I also talked my way into the design studio, even though I barely knew Photoshop or anything. And so then all of a sudden I was like super intern where I had a desk on like the 4th floor and a desk on the 5th floor.
Oh, wow.
And I was like running back and forth. And sometimes I was the go-between between like the broadcast, like the producers and the design studio. And so I was just like, I'm going to make myself as indispensable as possible.
It sounds like you have. I mean, you're basically the conduit between 2 different floors.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was super fun. I was there for when they pitched Coca-Cola and got to see that, not super close up, but like from my intern perspective. But yeah, it was definitely a very good introduction to advertising where like, I don't know what I thought advertising was before, but like when you start at Wieden and Kennedy and you're like, oh, there's such craft to everything that they're making, you're just like, okay, I see this as like a path where I can be telling stories. I'm not going to be a starving artist. There's a lot of creativity. It could be funny. It could be heartfelt. Like there's just so many different ways that it evolves,
Like a huge learning experience.
Huge learning experience, yeah. And so then I ended up getting asked to stay on in the design studio. But I really was faking it. I didn't know what I was doing. And so eventually when they had layoffs, I'm sure they were like, oh, how about that person who barely knows Photoshop? So
the majority of her day is spent running between 2 different floors up the 10 billion stairs.
Yeah.
There's so many stairs in that building. What's wrong with that? But yeah, like that's a really interesting introduction, but it's put you in kind of a tough spot. You're in a city that is still pretty new to you. Like you'd only been at Wyden, like a year or something?
I was there, I think total it was about a year and a half, yeah.
So you have this experience. How do you actually like turn that into what your next big move is?
Yeah, I think, Portland isn't the biggest market. I mean, especially back then. This was
back then.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
And Wyden's like the best game in town. And I mean, it was really hard to be 23 and be like, oh, I peaked already. It was a little rough. And I think, for someone in their 20s that doesn't know a lot of people in town, I think I just was like, I don't know that I can stay here.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was time to go back to California, and I didn't want to move to LA again.
Yeah.
So I decided to move to the Bay Area.
Oh, sure. Right. I mean, and that's where you end up at Teak, which is a small brand studio. How do you get that job? Like, is that something that you get into before you've moved?
No,
or?
I had signed a lease, an expensive lease already, but I was like, well, I gotta figure it out. And so at the time I was like, between doing design and the video editing, I'm a much stronger video editor. And so I had approached Teak asking if they had any like assistant editor positions open, and they didn't, but they had the need for a freelance designer. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And so then I got in the door, and they were like, you really need to learn After Effects. And I was like, okay. And I mean, I'm still not great at After Effects, but
it's a whole different kettle of fish, in fairness.
Yeah, it definitely. I mean, I was never going to be an amazing animator, but I get by.
Yeah.
I get by. And so I learned After Effects. I was doing just kind of like, design stuff, but it just wasn't like, I wanted to be an art director. I wanted to like be concepting. But when you're on the production, post-production end, it's just like everything's kind of being finished or edited. So there wasn't a ton for me to like really dig into. I remember it was like right when the economy crashed.
A great time.
Great time. January 2009. I was like, I'm quitting this job. I'm out of here. Losers. And I remember that
never been a better time.
I remember
to
the
take
HR
a leap
woman
into the darkness.
Yeah, I remember the HR woman was like, "Are you sure about that?"
Hey, just between you and me, you may want to rethink this. I haven't put in the paperwork yet, so you can take it back if you need.
Yeah.
That's scary. But like, you go freelance at that point.
I go freelance. And I started freelancing a lot at this ad agency Mechanism in San Francisco.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Still around. Still pretty big.
Yeah. At the time now they're a creative agency. At the time when I started working there, they were more on the production side. But it was great for me. Like I, got thrown on a lot of pitches. I had to become a better designer for sure. Like it was like very fast. And so I think of those couple years of like, I didn't make a lot of money, but I wasn't making much money before anyway.
Yeah. And almost all of it is going to rent, I'm
like,
sure.
Hustle, hustle, hustle. Yeah. And like throughout, still illustrating on the side, still making stuff. Yeah.
The other thing that kind of starts, I imagine, around this time is like you start turning that illustration into something that you get to be known for. I assume this is happening on Twitter.
I don't know if it was happening on Twitter. I mean, I would say 2012 is when I had like the first time I went viral with illustration. Was I was sitting at my job and I was like, I'm not doing anything interesting here. And there was this little, very adorable like kitchenware shop that had opened in the Mission in San Francisco, like 2 blocks from me. I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I tweeted at the shop and I was like, hey, can I have like a food related art show here?
Oh, what? With no setup. This is just a cold ass. That's
tweet.
Wild.
Cold tweet.
Yeah.
And she responded, the owner responded, because it was run just by one woman.
Yeah.
Turns out we were from the same hometown. We didn't know that at all. The world is so crazy. But she was like, what do you have in mind? And so I was like, I don't know. Do I want to draw pasta? Like, I just...
Wait, you didn't know what the show was?
No idea.
I'll figure that out later.
Yeah, I'll figure that out later. I just need to get the yes first. But, my family grew up watching Seinfeld. We love Seinfeld.
Of course.
And so I don't know, for some reason I was thinking about Seinfeld, and I was thinking about how there's so many episodes that revolve around a piece of food, right? Like
iconic foods.
Babka, black and white cookie, all those things.
Junior Mints,
right?
It might be the only reason that Junior Mints still exists as a food.
It's the only reason
I've never seen anyone eat them.
I smile every time I see someone eating Junior Mints. So then I pitched that to her. I was like, what if it was a Seinfeld theme show where it's all food, called Sein Food?
Great.
And she was like, sure, whatever. And I was thinking just like super small. So I was like, all right, it'll be one fun night. I draw 20 things, get them printed, put them in like thrift store frames or whatever.
Yeah.
My friends come out for one night. We all drink some wine, eat some cheese, and go home, you know? And so I just was thinking so small about it. And so I was like, oh, for my friends who couldn't be there, I'm just going to throw up a website with prints. I didn't have prints yet. I just was like, I'm just going to throw it up. And then the internet found it and loved it. And so all of a sudden it got all this press pickup like the week of the show. So it was like in Dwell Magazine and like Flavor Pop or like whatever those like sites were at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny to think about how much design media there used to be and how it all just kind of went away. Like there's so little of it now.
It was such a different era where like if you were doing anything kind of interesting, you'd get picked up. It doesn't feel like that anymore.
No. I hope you have a PR person if you have a project coming up.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, truly, like this was not even something this was just to support the exhibition, this one night only exhibition in a food store.
Yeah. So all of a sudden I'm selling like dozens of prints that I don't even have yet. Right. So then I had to like kind of scramble and figure out like my process of like, okay, I found a local printer. I got all my Uline like packaging supplies. And so I had my little setup at home where I was shipping out. So then it kind of went through this peak where it got a lot of press and then it kind of died down. And then there was one morning where I woke up and I was like, something's happening. Where there was like a new order every second. Every time I refreshed, there'd be like 5 more orders. And it had gotten picked up by this mom blog, Cup of Joe. And so all of a sudden it's like, I sold like $10,000 worth of posters in that month, you know?
God.
And so that was the first time anything I had done had really gone viral. And it was interesting being at my ad agency where like, you know, I wasn't like the star at the ad agency. Like I was kind of just like sort of floating in the middle, but people were like, what is happening?
Well, I mean, also to think of like, you know, that's like life-changing money too, to somebody who's like in their mid-20s in a very expensive city, even then. And yeah, like, I mean, that's astonishing, but also like a huge amount of responsibility too, because that's a lot of orders to
It's a lot of orders.
figure out.
It's a lot of orders. But I think what felt nice about it was like, it just felt very true to me. It was like something that like, you know, a topic that I like knew a lot about. And I often find like the things that I do that take off are things that just make me laugh, you know, like it's like I'm not trying so hard. I'm just like, well, I think it would be funny. Will the rest of the internet think it's funny? And so I think I liked that it was something that like felt just true to my character. And I think I was still kind of figuring out what my illustration style was. And that really helped because kind of just at that point I'd been drawing on the side a lot. I wasn't doing a lot of professional illustration gigs. It was kind of just something that I was hoping to pursue. I had been reaching out to illustration agents, never got a response.
Interesting.
And so when this happened, it was super interesting to see how people were describing my illustration because like it's hard for me to know, right?
Yeah.
But like people were like, oh, like minimalist or like whatever. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing.
I'll just borrow that word and put that in my bio.
Like,
there we go.
Yeah. And I think I still find it fascinating when I have people kind of describe back my illustration, you know, like quirky comes up, like sense of humor. And it's like, I don't know that I'm consciously thinking that, but it kind of just like manifests itself that way. But the sign food stuff was the first time where I'd had people describe my style back to me.
And in such a public way too. It's really wild. But yeah, that's an explosive project also. I mean, I would say the making of the product is a core problem of the project. Yeah. But like also during this time, like you said, you are climbing the ladder. Like in 2011, you start working as a senior art director at Pura Odell. Did I pronounce that name correctly? Pereira Odell.
Yeah. So Sign Food happened while I was there.
You're working for clients like Lego and Skype and HBO. 3 just very similar clients. So makes perfect sense that they would be all together. So like, you know, that is a very weird contrast in just like you are doing your day job and then there's this thing that is just like exploding and creating this whole other pathway for you. So that's like 2012, right? The sign food stuff. 2014, you make it happen again with the Made Up Words project. Yeah. How does that start? Does that have a similar, like, this was an idea that snowballed type thing?
It totally did. It totally did. It's funny, I haven't thought about this for a while, but it started because I was binging The West Wing.
A normal way for anything to start.
Like most projects.
Of course.
I was binging The West Wing, and there's some episode where Rob Lowe's character walks into a room, everyone's eating lunch, and he says some word, and then no one knows what he's talking about, like just blank faces. And then he says something like, oh, I'm realizing that's just a word my mother made up. And I paused it and I was like, I bet that happens to people all the time.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And so I sent this email out. I think I was working at this agency, Argonaut, at the time. So I sent this email out to the agency and to a bunch of friends. And I say, okay, bear with me. I have this theory that a lot of people might grow up thinking a word is a real word. And then as they become adults, they realize it's a made-up word. If you have a made-up word that you used with friends and family growing up, send it to me. Tell me the definition, tell me the origin story, tell me how to pronounce it. So I get these submissions, and then I launched a website with 25 of them. So I was illustrating them, and in my mind, I was like, I'm going to draw it in a style where it's like very quick to draw. They're not belabored over, it's like pretty minimalist, a little bit quirky.
Well, I also feel like that's very fitting because I imagine a lot of these words are just coming from parents being very tired and not being able to remember the real word. So it's just like, that's good enough.
Yeah, or just kids mispronouncing a word.
Sure,
a lot of that, and then it just sticks, right?
Yeah.
And so it's a pretty wild story. So I launched the website, and it was like I don't know if it was a Squarespace. No, it was a cargo collective site. Super simple. I launched it on a Monday, and before I launched it, I had emailed the contact form at like FlavorWire or like, all those like Mashable or whatever, just these cold submissions of like, I'm launching this thing on Monday. Here's the link.
Yeah, this like world of open pitching that just does not exist in media anymore.
So I launched it on a Monday, and it just instantly went viral in a way that was insane.
Like basically day one.
Basically day one. It was front page of Mashable and Huffington Post, and it had its own BuzzFeed list. And yeah, it just kind of went everywhere. And then Tuesday, like literally the next day, I get an email from a lit agent that was like, oh, hey, have you ever thought about turning this into a book?
This project that has existed for one day?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not realize, because that does happen, but like, I did not realize the turnaround was like truly, it's the next day. You go to bed and you wake up to this.
It was wild. And what's even crazier is, so for years, I had been cold emailing illustration agents being like, I'm looking for representation, da-da-da.
Yeah.
Had never heard back from anybody. And then I was working with an art buyer who was like, you should reach out to Brendan Johnson, these illustration agents. And I was like, yeah, okay. So then I'd emailed them probably like 3 months before. They were super busy. And then finally, the Friday before I launched this Made Up Words thing, I met with Beth, who's one of the agents, for coffee. Just thinking like, okay, we'll just like meet and greet, whatever.
It's not the Beth that made the Sleepytime tea
Not
bear, right?
the Beth. Oh my God, wouldn't that be amazing though?
That would actually be pretty
different
amazing.
Beth.
I just need to make more Sleepytime tea illustrators.
Yeah. So I met with Beth and just thinking like, okay, we'll meet, I'll show her my work, and then, hopefully I hear back. But in that meeting, she was like, I'm ready to sign you. And I was like,
wow.
Great. So that was like Friday, and I was like, oh, and I'm launching this Made Up Words thing on Monday. I'm sure she was like, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
So
then, good luck.
Yeah. So basically, like, acquired this illustration agent on this Friday, launched Made Up Words on Monday. Tuesday, I get the email from Monica, this lit agent. And then Monica's like, hey, I'm going to actually be in San Francisco at the end of the week. Let's meet up on Friday. So then I meet up with her on Friday, and she was like, well, I'm ready to sign you. And I was like, what?
This is the most insane week.
Yeah.
This is all 7 days.
Astrologically, like, what was happening? I don't know. But I've never experienced a week like that again.
Well, I mean, but it's like one of those things, though, where you essentially have yourself set up for the entire time in your career after that. That's like bonkers.
Yeah.
Because
it's pretty bonkers.
Like, if you want to do illustration, that is the way to make it work. And that you also have a book deal out of it, too.
Yeah. All in 1 week. For sure.
So yeah, this becomes a huge project, and it becomes a real book published by Knock Knock. is it the next year that the book actually comes out? Which is also a pretty fast turnaround.
Well, I'm learning that it is such a fast turnaround. Yeah, because my recent books have not been on the same timeline. But yeah, it came out in, I would say it was like June 2015. It's pretty fast.
Yeah, I guess it's not the next day, but it's still pretty good. But that's like really wild. That's a life-changing thing to like become a published illustrator and like writer in just one fell swoop.
Yeah.
While you're also still working at these ad agency jobs.
Well, yeah. And then, my coworkers saw like the whole span of like the initial email that I had sent out that maybe they had responded to. And then like, a year later, this book comes out. So
yeah. October 2015, you hop over to this new product design startup, Hello Junior, as creative director, though.
Yeah. I think my official title was design lead. It was kind of an interesting career turn or twist.
Yeah, how does that happen?
Yeah, so I had been working at this agency, Argonaut, and they had, I don't know, it was like 5 founders, but 2 of them had split off and started this it was like a product design consultancy.
Okay.
And right around the same time that they were starting that, I had decided to leave Argonaut and go freelance. And so as they were kind of starting the whole thing up, they asked me, will you freelance on this project? We're doing a product design sprint for Kodak.
Okay.
And I was like, what's a product design sprint? I don't know what that is. Yeah. And so, yeah.
It's also hard to imagine Kodak being able to do any form of sprinting or fast movement.
That was kind of the whole thing, right? It was like you have these companies, because we also worked with eBay quite a bit too. So it's like you have these companies that are like, legacy, like they don't know how to like really keep up with modern times, and so they bring in someone like a junior to kind of like inject some like fresh thinking. And then it's kind of the common thing that still happens everywhere. It's like you almost need an outside person to tell you what you need to do, even though you know what you need to do.
Yeah even in academia, we get that.
And so basically I just got thrown in where they're like, okay, we're going to split into groups. You're going to lead a group of like a UX designer, a UI designer, I forgot who else was on the team, and then me. And you get briefed on a Monday with like, here's the problem. And by Friday, you have a working prototype and a whole like presentation. And the client will basically pick the winner. And then that's the app that they will go make.
Oh, God. What did they have any idea what the apps were? Did they have constraints or desires for what they did?
There was a brief, but from what I remember, the brief was like, Instagram is big. What could we do?
We would like to be that.
Yeah,
can we be that?
Yeah. And so this was so different for coming from advertising, where you're thinking about like commercials or branding or whatever. And I kind of just got thrown in, but I like actually really liked it. Like it really brought out the competitive side of me, where I was like, we're gonna fucking beat the rest of these guys. And I just like went in super confident, where like all along during the week you could kind of check in with the advisors or whatever to see if you were like making progress or like if you were on the right track. And I was like, we don't need it. We got this, you guys.
Did you have it?
We did. We won.
Oh, damn.
We won.
All right.
Yeah. So after that week, they were like, will you come on full time and be our design lead? And I was like, I don't really know what this is, but okay. So, I think I learned a lot. And it was so San Francisco. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the kind of job that would happen in San Francisco. And
I was going to say, it sounds very IDEO-esque.
Yes.
And they're the product design powerhouse.
Yeah,
down
totally. And it was just like a new way of thinking. But I think ultimately I always knew it wasn't like where I was going to be forever. Just like, I like making videos and telling stories. I'm not super interested in UI, UX and like products. User-centered product design is like not my jam.
No, it's almost sounding a little bit like veering into the engineering kind of vibe that you were really hoping to get away from. Totally,
yeah. And, we would meet with the client and, like, there'd be a ton of engineers in the room. And I'd be like, nah, this isn't for me. So I was there, I can't remember. Like, eventually the company folded, I think in 2017. So I don't regret it. I think it was good to see that side of design and, like, learn that. And also learn how to sprint. Like, I love a sprint. You get stuff done.
And it's nice to be able to like really quickly think and not have to like take a step back and look at the big overview all the time. And
Yeah, or just
you
like
know.
worry about all the other constraints you normally do. If it's just like, if you can really just like focus and like not have a million meetings and just like really try to like get at one problem, I think it's super fun.
Well, I also wonder like how much that way of thinking about problems like led you into, you know, sort of comedy stuff that you end up also doing at this time. You get involved with Killing My Lobster.
Lobster. Yeah.
Which is like a long time San Francisco sketch.
They've been around for a long time.
97, I have written down that so like almost 20 years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So like you kind of start out taking classes, right?
Yeah. Killing My Lobster's been around forever, like you said. And I had a friend who was one of the staff writers. And I always thought about it, like, oh, what a cool thing, you know? And, you know, just like I love SNL, like, you know, read the book about like the history of SNL, and it just always felt so far away. And I wasn't writing much. And, you know, when I was at agencies, I was always partnered with a writer. And I was always like, oh, there's writing? That's your job. That's not my job. I'm not even going to think about it. And so even just signing up for the first intro class was a little bit scary of like, I don't know if I can do this, you know? And so then the class started and I immediately was like, oh, I love this.
Oh,
like,
just truly like, this is where I fit.
I really liked it a lot. All of a sudden I would like wake up in the middle of the night and I'd have all these ideas I was like writing down in notes files. It just like opened up a whole side of my brain that I had never been using. And it really gave me the confidence to start writing in other aspects of my life of like, yeah, I can write a speech for my brother's wedding and it can be funny, you know, or like, you know, just like small things like that where like I had the confidence. And yeah, I like loved the class. And then you have to finish the intermediate class. Then if you're lucky, they might ask you to become a staff writer. And so I was lucky enough that they did. And I had talked to one of my instructors after it happened, and they were like, we wanted to actually ask you after the second class and the beginner one, but we couldn't because you had to finish. So which felt really great. Like what a confidence boost, you know? And so I don't know, it's just something that I like really enjoyed doing a lot. And unfortunately, when I moved to New York, I kind of just stopped actively doing it. But I still gained a lot. Like, you know, you learn how to be in a writer's room, how to give critique, get critique, all those things, which like, where else was I going to get those kind of skills, you know?
Yeah, well, and it, like, especially, when you think about like, in a weird way, that ends up being a bigger picture way of even thinking about like creative processes and stuff like that, which probably then becomes valuable to other stuff that you do
totally
after that. You also do some like illustrative work for them at the same time.
I do. Yeah. Like I was like,
you essentially become their art director.
Can I just take over all of this? Yeah. They were super generous and let me design all the posters for the year and all that, which was super fun.
I mean, I've seen those posters. I would go to those shows. They look pretty fun.
Yeah.
You can't stick around in San Francisco forever because New York is calling your name.
Yeah.
And specifically the front. The front.
Yeah.
Which maybe they should work on their name because that does sound like maybe they're doing sort of mob business.
Yeah.
What do you wind up doing there?
Yeah, it's a bit of a story. I had worked on a different project when I was at junior, and I had met these two women who started the front. They had come from Vice, and the front was an all-women production company. So it was like women directors, women writers, women editors. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds amazing, you know? And so I had not spent a lot of time in New York. I was such a West Coast person. And, you know, I think everyone who's creative kind of dreams of like, will I move to New York at some point? And because I hadn't moved there by the time I was 30, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. But in 2017, I just couldn't be in San Francisco anymore. I just was like ready to leave. I just was so restless. I just like didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't think San Francisco had it, like especially like in the ad scene. It just felt like a lot of people were going in-house, but it's like, what are you doing in-house at Dropbox? Like, I couldn't.
We were making the box bluer.
Yeah, I was like, I am craving something. The comedy writing has really helped, but I think I need something, you know?
Yeah.
And so I had planned this week-long trip to New York in October. And so I reached out to these girls and I was like, hey, I'm going to be visiting next week. Would love to stop by the office and just say hi. And they wrote back. And this is all on like Facebook. We're like Facebook messaging.
Of course, of course. As was the style of the time.
They wrote back and they were like, hey, we have this project for Spotify. It's to create this web series of 10 episodes. It starts next Wednesday. It's a 4-month gig. Can you do it?
Oh, this is just, you're getting this offer over Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
They give you a poke and then,
yeah. And I think I just was in the right mindset of like, I'm single. I don't have a dog. Like, the only person I need to ask is myself.
Yeah.
And like, do I want to try this for 4 months? And they had shot a pilot episode, which I loved. And so I thought like, oh, I'm sure I'm one art director on a team of creatives that are going to continue to make this series.
Oh, no.
So then the day before my flight, they're like, hop on the Zoom call with the Spotify client. And I was like, sure, yeah. And they're like, by the way, we feel very strongly about you just leading this project. And I was like, oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So then I get to Brooklyn and I am the only one staffed on the project like at that point.
How? Because I mean, you are again only getting, it sounds like, information over this call and Facebook messages. How much did you actually know about the project? Really?
Not much. I mean, I remember, I think I got on a phone call and they were like, we need 10 episodes done in 4 months. And I remember like laughing.
We need a full season, damn it.
I remember laughing because I was like, that's crazy. And also, I hadn't really done a lot of production. Like I had been on set for commercials from the agency side. So like, when you're the agency creative client, it's like you show up, like you go to Video Village, you go to like craft services and eat a snack. Like it's very like handholdy, but I hadn't really been on the production side where you're in the details.
You're just giving thumbs up or thumbs down.
Yeah,
and not...
totally. You're not. And so I got there and they were like, they ended up hiring a creative partner for me who was going to also co-direct and also produce. And she was a powerhouse.
That's
like,
good.
We're still great friends to this day.
Did she also know anything about the project?
Probably not. I don't even know how we roped her into this. And so then we were like, okay, we need to staff up writers. And so then because I had this comedy experience, I was like, all right, I will be head writer and I will kind of run this like writer's room where we're like pitching scripts and stuff. And so that experience helped tremendously because I think without it, I would have been like, I can't lead the writing,
That's hugely valuable.
It was so valuable. And so then I was also leading like the art direction. And this is actually where my design fail comes.
Oh, please.
Yeah. So basically, like, they had set this very strong look in the pilot episode, but the pilot episode was like proof of concept. So it was like, take what they did and then recreate it for these next 10 episodes. And it was a very limited palette, and that palette dictated the props. And there was also like bits of 2D animation. And so it was very important. Like, the palette was very important.
They've given you a very hard task.
Yeah. And so I, went through the Spotify brand guidelines. I picked out like 3 colors. A lot of the shots when we were going to go into production were tabletop shots where like, you get like one of those rolls of paper and you shoot against that, like a color psych, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't have that much experience in that side of like picking those details. And so I had picked, a couple colors and like dark green was one of them. And I was like, well, surely we can get like a roll of dark green paper, right? So then fast forward to we're like in production and our prop designer is like, well, there's only like green screen paper, like that kind of green,
Yeah.
And so then we get to set to do some test shots and we tried the green and it's like, no, this looks like super unfinished. It looks like footage that needs to be green screen. And so in the midst of like, we're about to shoot 40 different tabletop setups and this palette has been applied to like all these different things, we had to do like a 180 and be like, okay, this is going to be the new palette. And I remember having to like present it to the client and just be like, we messed up.
But you've already shot it too.
We hadn't shot yet.
Okay,
So we caught it before, but it was a bit of a scramble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's funny is like we had to tell the client, and it was like in this green room attached to the studio where we were shooting. And those studios, it's in Bushwick in Brooklyn. A lot of stuff gets shot there. Like I've shot at multiple studios there like throughout the years. So I was back there last year, and I can never tell, like, is this the same studio we shot that in? I'm not sure. Because they all kind of look the same, and they're all on the same street.
What I remember about Bushwick is it has a lot of very anonymous looking warehouses.
So yeah, exactly. So it's just like a door. And so anyway, we're shooting something for Hatch last February or something, and I had to take a Zoom call. And they're like, oh, just use the room upstairs. I walk upstairs and I was like, oh my God, I recognize this sofa. I recognize the light fixture. This is the room where we had to tell them we were changing the color palette. And just like all the trauma came back.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's tough, but also like I do feel for you because it's like a problem that you wouldn't have really known was going to be a problem ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because you hadn't had any into this work. But also you're trying to solve this problem in a city that New York City has many great characteristics. It's not like famously the place to make movies. There's probably a lot fewer resources than an LA would have.
Yeah, but I think I assumed like, well, it's Manhattan. Of course we can get a roll of dark green paper.
Yeah.
Can't we get a roll of like any color paper? You know?
You would think so.
Yeah, but now, I mean.
You head down to the paper district.
Yeah, of course. Right next to the flower district. So, it was like to this day probably the hardest project I've ever worked on. I basically like just slept and worked for like 4 months straight on this project.
I mean, it's understandable. Like it is 10 episodes of anything is truly like bonkers.
Yeah.
Like prestige TV shows don't even get that anymore.
Yeah, because, each episode was like 3 to 4 minutes. So like, it's not just a 30-second commercial. It's like 30 minutes of content where like every detail is like accounted for. But I learned so much. Like I really kind of got thrown into the deep end, and I'm super grateful for the experience. And like, I learned how to like lead writing on a huge thing. I learned how to pick colored paper. It just was an incredibly humbling experience, but I'm super grateful for it. And now I'm on production all the time, and I feel very comfortable on set. And I think having like that intense of a experience where once we finally got into production, it was like 10 straight days, 12-hour days. It just was rough during like New York winter. It was my first like real winter.
Oh no. So you'd come in October, the famous New York autumn, and now you're getting New York just sort of, throwing shit at you basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was so new to that kind of weather that I remember asking my co-director, I was like, what's all this white stuff on the ground? I literally had no idea. And she still makes fun of me for it. But it was like, it wasn't the snow, obviously. It was the salt that they like put down. But I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, it could be any number of substances in New York is the fun part.
Yeah.
That's a big project to be thrown into, again, just by Facebook message, basically. Where do you end up going from there? Because you don't stay at the front. You stay there a little under a year.
I finished the project.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good with this. And then, I had just been subletting a room in Brooklyn, and I was deciding, like, do I want to leave San Francisco? Do I want to move here? And
did you still have your apartment?
I did.
Oh my God.
I did, because I left on such fast notice, and I couldn't sublet my place. There was like and my landlord lived directly above me.
Oh.
So there was no way I could do it. And I think I just wasn't sure. I hadn't really spent that much time in Brooklyn, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to make such a major move. And so it was nice to spend like 4 months on this thing, get to kind of like fully live in the city. It was a money-losing venture because I wasn't getting paid very much.
Yeah.
I think I was maybe breaking even because I was paying rent in the two most expensive cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so your next move was to London, and you got another flat there. And...
yeah, just my rental proprities that I was casually acquiring.
Yeah, you're sort of doing what landlords do, but just as a renter.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah. So then once the spring came, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to move here. And so then I moved, I think in June, officially to Brooklyn.
Wow. So where do you end up freelancing or?
I ended up freelancing. Yeah. I ended up working at Oscar Healthcare. I was like in-house there. I had literally nothing to do for like 5 months. And eventually I was like, I'm laying myself off. Like
Well,
I cannot, I'm making like a great day, right? But I literally would come in and have nothing. I cannot scroll the internet anymore. And so
I was going to say, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily take healthcare advice from a perfectly gold man with just a cane.
Yeah.
Is probably not very healthy at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think it was good for me to kind of just like find my feet and just like have a gig initially. But yeah, I
Yeah.
just continued freelancing for the next year and a half. And then COVID hit.
Famously good time for most
Famously
people.
good time. And then when, freelancing during COVID was pretty scary. It's like, I remember summer 2020, all the work dried up, right? Like
Yeah.
everything that I was sort of like maybe going to go for, or like I remember talking to different agencies, like all of it instantly was just like, we don't know what's happening. Everything's shutting down.
We need to make commercials out of weird stock footage.
Yeah,
cut
basically.
together
Yeah.
with people looking worried.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the end of 2020, a friend of mine had started at Oatly, and I reached out to her, and they weren't looking for a CD art director. They were looking for a writer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But I sent my stuff in, and I had interacted with the recruiter in a different context. She used to be the recruiter at White in Amsterdam. And so I had
Wow.
actually interviewed with her in like 2016 or something. And so she and I knew each other on LinkedIn. And so I think I had sent a message to her of like, hey, my friend suggested I reach out or whatever. And so then we started talking. And then, yeah, I kind of just, even though they weren't looking for a CD writer or a CD art director, I kind of just like talked my way into it. Yeah.
But that's huge. Like, they are the game basically for oat milks, like, especially
Yeah.
at that moment.
Oh, that moment it was a wild time to be there. It was
Yeah.
like a rocket ship with an upward trajectory. And it was my first time in-house, which was really, really different. And it kind of broke my advertising brain a little bit. Like any idea that was like safe or traditional, like there's no way they're going to say yes to that. So like I really had to kind of like rethink my whole process. And
Boy, that's so interesting, because I feel like normally it's the opposite, where they want to be super safe in-house, but like,
no.
I mean, I know one of the big projects that you do there is the Oatly emotional support hotline for plant-based eaters attending traditional meat and dairy-based Thanksgiving dinners. A thing that I've definitely experienced, and I probably would have given that old hotline a ring or two.
Yeah.
Like, but that's a super weird idea, where you actually have a hotline, like the Butterball Turkey hotline.
That one was super fun. I mean, I think for a lot of reasons, like going in-house, if you're going to go from agency to in-house to a brand, like make sure it's a brand that like really vibes with you.
Yeah.
And Oatly really vibed with me because their stuff is quirky and whimsical. It has this like challenger mentality, kind of going up against big dairy, which I appreciated. And then their illustration style is quite similar to mine. And so it was the first time where I was actually illustrating at my job.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Because like I could just jump in and be like, oh, we need a title for this. I'll just draw it. In that sense, it was like a great place to land and kind of learn how to be in-house, which is so different, from being agent. Like you're so much closer to like the problems and the strategy and the wins and the sales and all those things.
Oh yeah, the numbers are right there in front of you there.
Yeah, they are. So yeah, it was definitely a good experience where like they wanted you to pitch dangerous ideas, which I really
Wow.
appreciate. And I loved working on the emotional support hotline. One of my other favorite projects was we were launching vegan cream cheese, like Oatly vegan cream cheese. And I just like shouted out in a meeting, like, what if we call it Philadelphia cream cheese? Because our R&D lab was in Philadelphia. And so we decided to go for it. And there was so much internal talks with the lawyers, obviously. And, we had to kind of like talk them through it. And they actually set aside a chunk of money in case we got sued. But I love that they were like, this is funny. This is like,
yeah, let's chase it.
yeah, let's try to get press from calling ourselves Philadelphia cream cheese. So we did this whole campaign. We went to Philadelphia. We had like a ceremonial cream cheese tasting moment. We got Tara Lipinski, who's like native Philadelphian, to be the host. It was so silly.
Great.
So silly. But yeah, I those kinds of ideas don't sell everywhere. And so I really appreciated the opportunity to like just really get weird and
make really bold moves, which again is like, I think super rare in-house like that. That's amazing. Also during this time, you are doing more illustration work. Like you did work for Off the Day the Internet Died.
Yeah, so that was my second book.
And a fantasy that I think a lot of us had, especially in 2020, about well, maybe the internet could go away.
Yeah. And so
maybe that would be good for us at this point.
We had pitched. Yeah, so I got connected to Chris. He had written a manuscript and he was looking for an illustrator. And his lit agent and my lit agent work at the same company. And so that's how we got introduced. And so I did a couple sample illustrations and he was on board. And so we're like, all right, let's pitch this out. I think in December 2019, we got an email that was like, yes, it's getting picked up by Prestel. And so then in January 2020, this is before COVID hits, I was like, all right, I'm going to take like 6 weeks off from freelance and just work on the book. Because it's like full bleed, and I should have brought you a copy, but full bleed illustration. I had to kind of create this whole world of this family kind of dealing with the internet going away and how they react to it. And so I was like, once I was done after like 6 weeks, I was like, well, I'm ready to like be back in an office and like rejoin society.
Springtime's looking great in the year 2020.
Yeah. So it was pretty wild to kind of be in this like little bubble where I was just like locked away in my apartment to emerge into
You just like open the door and everything's on fire.
Yeah, that's basically what happened.
Oh my God. Wow, that's a wild transition point into the pandemic to have.
Yeah.
But like that also like kind of starts to lead into LOL 101, A Kid's Guide to Writing Jokes, which you co-wrote with David Roth and illustrated. This is a thick book, I gotta say.
It's a thick book, yeah.
So how does this come about?
David and I had met in San Francisco. He's a copywriter and a comedian. He had also been in one of my comedy sketch writing classes. And so he had known that it was something that I really liked and that I was interested in. And he was very familiar with my illustration as well. And we had coincidentally moved to New York around the same time. But we were friends, but we didn't know each other super well. We've now, of course, become much, much closer. But he, in 2020, had gotten reached out to by a friend that was like, hey, we're a bunch of parents who are trying to figure out how to keep our kids busy during the pandemic and lockdown. Can you put together like a little guide on jokes or like how to tell jokes?
I'm so tired of our kids telling bad jokes.
Or just like, what do we do with our kids? How can we keep them entertained for even an hour, right? And so David put together this like very loose Google slide deck with like clip art and stuff, right? Just to kind of get the ideas across. Yeah. And it went over really well. Like it went over really well with the kids and the parents. And so he had known about Made Up Words. I think he was even at my book launch party for that. And,
wild.
Yeah, like back, years before. And so he knew that I had been doing these books. And so he reached out to me. This was maybe like April 2020. And he was like, hey, like I have this idea. I think it could be a book.
That's also wild to think of, like, the turnaround between your last illustration book job and this. Like, essentially, it's like, oh, yeah, you're going right into it.
Yeah, which is so wild because I never really set out to be a book illustrator ever. But it's, I love it. But and so we reached out to my lit agent and said, like, what do you think about this idea? And she was like, it's actually super interesting because joke books for kids sell really well, but they are just pre-written jokes, like list of jokes that kids memorize.
Yes.
But there's this gap in the market of books that actually teach kids how to write their own jokes. So we pitched it out. Like I put together, a couple sample spreads. We had like our whole little pitch deck and we pitched it out. And then August 2020, we heard back from Chronicle in SF, which was actually my number one choice. So it was super exciting.
Truly. I mean, kind of feels like a homecoming in a weird way.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Then it was kind of like off to the races to like, we co-wrote the manuscript and that just takes like months because like, you get a couple months to write it and then they take a little while to like respond with notes. And then once that's all locked in, they're like, okay, start illustrating.
Yeah.
And so
I would imagine too with a book like this, there's also the weird mental math of what is a kid going to understand about this process, and how do we position this in a way that they're going to grasp all the steps.
Totally. And like, you know, this book is very much starting at the beginning. Like, I think in the first chapter, it's like, what is a joke? Who do you tell jokes to? And then as the book progresses, it gets a little bit more advanced of just like, here are, you know, the rules of comedy. It's like anything, right? So like the rule of three or wordplay or exaggeration, and just kind of teaching those principles, which I think adults have told us that like they've learned a lot too.
I'm sure the listeners will be happy to know that I have this now. So hopefully some of my jokes will start to make sense.
Yeah, totally. So that's how that book came about. Yeah.
But that's wild. I mean, February 2024, you shift over to Hatch. Is that what kind of ultimately brings you to Portland again?
No. No. The move to Portland was, as much as I loved Brooklyn, you know, I'm such a West Coast person. I just felt like eventually I was going to land back on the West Coast. And like right when I left New York, I got engaged, and we were looking for a place that had a creative and ad community, but also my husband loves nature. So like he had been in New York forever and was like, I cannot be in this city anymore.
What do you mean? They have 3 or 4 parks.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
They all have fences around them.
Yeah. And
lovely.
Since COVID happened, a lot of ad friends that I had in San Francisco had moved to Portland. There was like a migration. And so when we were thinking of like where to land, it just felt like, okay, I guess I'm moving back to Portland.
But how do you end up at Hatch? Like,
so I had been at Oatly for 3 years, and they were having a lot of leadership changes. The oat milk market had changed a lot.
There's a lot of folks in that now.
Yeah. And I think I joined kind of at the height of it, where like people were like really into plant-based. Like plant-based is almost like a dirty word now, but it was like so hot, you know, in 2020.
I find those language shifts so strange.
It's crazy. And there's definitely some like insidious, you know, big dairy, big meat stuff behind it, which is like a whole other podcast episode. But I just felt like it was time for me to leave. Like I had been one of 2 creative directors in North America, and there was like nowhere to go. And, you know, I was kind of reaching a point in my career where I was like, I need to start managing people, and I'm not going to have, like, we're so scrappy at Oatly, that's never going to happen.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so I was thinking like, okay, I want to stay in-house. It has to be remote. I need to be able to start managing people. And like, what's an interesting category or industry that I think I could work on full time? And like sleep is super interesting, right? It's like, you can go in a lot of directions with it. You can go like comedic or scientific or like wherever you want to go. And yeah, so that was kind of like the impetus to start pursuing that.
Well, it's also interesting from the perspective of, I feel like sleep is often marketed as Sleepytime Bear kind of in many ways. But like you are bringing in this totally different take. I know one of your biggest campaigns is like the horror movie ad with Kiernan Shipka, which is like, that's such a weird way of thinking of that. But like, it's great.
Yeah. And I think, you know, what I brought over from Oatly was this challenger mindset, right? Where you're kind of punching at something. And so for us, it's like any enemy of sleep. And the thing that we decided to focus on last year was phones. Like phone-free sleep was kind of like our big message. And so
it does seem like that's a big part of the problem.
Yeah. And so we had gotten lucky where we had done this billboard in New York last February that went a bit viral. And that was also like phone-free related, where basically we found an Apple phone billboard, and then we bought a billboard next to it. And on one side, it's a picture of a hatch, and it says like, doesn't have your ex's number. And then on the next side, it's like, we'll let you text your ex at 2 a.m. with an arrow pointing at the Apple billboard.
Oh my God.
And then we did the same thing in LA, where we found a placement across from, you know, like a Netflix and an HBO billboard. And so we were pointing to that, being like, keeps you up all hours.
Wow.
You know, so finding that like those moments to find that challenger mindset and just be a little cheeky with it, you know?
Absolutely. I mean, that's got to be some tricky business to figure
Oh
out.
my God, it totally was.
Because I imagine it can't be the same billboard company too.
It is not the same billboard company. And we were talking to like, it's all like the, you know, these like brokers and vendors who are selling the media.
This very weird, abstract way
and
of looking at the world.
Yeah, it's what a wild job. And so we had, you know, been reaching out to them being like, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for some kind of phone billboard, like maybe it's Samsung, maybe it's Apple or whatever. They just like could not wrap their head. It was like such a specific ask where they'd be like, well, there's an Apple billboard and then there's one directly attached behind it and that one's open. And we're like, no, that's not the idea at all.
Kind of got to see them both at the same time.
And so my creative partner lives in Brooklyn and she was walking her dog in Williamsburg and she was like, well, there's an Apple billboard and then there's an open spot right there. And so we had to do some like covert digging where like we emailed the vendor of the Apple billboard and we were like, hey, we're really interested in renting this billboard. Like, how long is the Apple one gonna be up? Just to kind of like figure it out. But like, we still did, like, even like the night before it went up, we weren't 100% sure the Apple one would be there.
Oh, sure, yeah. But still, like, it worked out.
It was a bet. Yeah, it was a bit of a bet.
But yeah, so like, you do that horror trailer. How does the horror trailer come about, I guess, is the first part of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like one slide of a deck of ideas. You know, if we want to do something in the fall, like, let's lean into horror tropes. Phone free is like phones in the bedrooms could be the villain.
Oh, 100%.
And so then when we decided to pursue the project, luckily we had a connection to the director Meredith Alloway, who she has a big film coming out actually next week, Forbidden Fruit, which is like blowing up on the internet.
Okay.
So we were super lucky that we got her before I'm sure she's going to go many, many places. And she loves horror. And so we sent her the initial concept and she came back with her treatment and that we were in love with it. And because she's up and coming, a lot of people were like very eager to work with her. And so we were able to reach out to Kiernan Shipka and she was into it. And, you know, she's become kind of a horror queen herself. And so, yeah, we greenlit the idea. And I think like 3.5 weeks later, we were on set in New York shooting.
Wow.
It was a really great one-day shoot. And, you know, we put it out, I think mid-October. And we're like, great, we got a bit of press. Kiernan obviously is like a big name. Great. It did what it had to do.
Yeah.
Then 10 days later, this Christian TikToker posts.
Those words make me feel so old.
That she thinks Hatch is a demonic company. And she had all these proof points, like we use ritual on the website. And we had a fall spot where somebody had tarot cards and crystals on the nightstand. And they have this horror trailer that is so demonic. So we saw that when it got posted. It was like a Wednesday night. And we're like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then by Friday morning, she had 1 million views. And there were other TikTokers throwing away their Hatch devices in the garbage. And so it was like, okay, we need to get ahead of this.
Yeah.
And figure out, like, how do we approach it? And so, you know, we jumped on a call. And, like, luckily, the leadership at Hatch, they weren't like, you need to apologize, you need to pull the ad. They were like, how do we respond in a, like, irreverent way?
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate that was the response from them. So we crafted this response that was like, okay, there's been a misunderstanding. We were trying to say that, you know, phones in the bedroom aren't good for you. Obviously, some people misinterpreted this as, like, some kind of demonic presence. If you think that your Hatch device is, you know, if you're hearing demonic voices, send it back to us. But if you want one of these devices, we're now launching the Hatch repossession program.
Beautiful.
Comment, repossess me if you want one of these hatches. So that response, which we post on Instagram and TikTok, immediately goes viral. Like, it was wild just watching it. Like, you know, we crafted it. We had our designer design the asset, and then we post it, and then it just like...
Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, it's also the weird thing of, like, with all of those kinds of just, like, somebody trying to... I mean, I won't pretend to know what this person's motives were.
Yeah. But
Oftentimes in that space, they're a little sketchy.
yeah.
I feel like the majority of people that do see the thing recognize that, oh, yeah, this is somebody doing some nonsense.
Yeah, but it's wild that it did take off.
Yeah.
Because like before we posted, all of a sudden it was like there was these other, like this movement of like, oh, it's demonic, like the company is demonic, the device is demonic. And we make a baby product as well. So they were mostly throwing away the baby products. So they were like, they're demonic voices that my baby can hear. And, you know, it was kind of this like interesting moment of like, how do we meet the moment? How are we accidentally starting a satanic panic? Like, that's not what we intended.
It doesn't feel like that should still be possible to do.
But I mean, there are just like sides of the internet that I've never visited before. And I learned a lot about that particular side and like the language that they use. And yeah, it was very, but you know, there were like videos of people like hammering their device or setting it on fire, which can't be good for you.
No, it can't be good for you. And if you think it's demonically possessed, I would think the demon's going to have some words about that.
Yeah. So it was a super interesting moment of like, how do we meet this in the right way that isn't poking them more, but also like is a bit of a wink of like, this is kind of crazy, isn't it? And so, yeah, it was interesting. So then Hatch Halloween ad was trending on TikTok that weekend. And the original trailer got like 5 million more views. And it just...
Of course, it's Streisand effect.
It's crazy. Yeah. And then like every time that weekend I refreshed TikTok, it was like more videos on our side kind of making fun of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because I think the tide sort of turned. It was like sort of the scary tide of people like destroying their devices or saying that like they were rebuking it, whatever that means. And then once we posted that, I think people were able to kind of like join in on the joke a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what are we talking about here?
God, that's so bizarre. It's also wild to think I did not know about that, and yet I did this show opener of the demonic olive oil.
Well, wait till that side of TikTok finds you, I think.
You know what? I would be shocked if any part of TikTok acknowledged that audio-only podcasts still exists. Doesn't seem like they have any grasp of that. What a strange experience to have.
It was, for sure. And
especially since like you've mostly had like the incredible experience of like, oh, my thing got discovered and it's like magical.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a project like this, and I don't think I ever like with that kind of response where it like taps into some bit of culture and then kind of like resonates in a way where like other podcasts talked about it. Like there's like a Slate podcast episode about the whole thing, and
wow,
it wasn't what we intended, but I'm glad more people got to see the original trailer.
It sounds like it worked out kind of ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. I mean. And, you know, it's great for the director because she can say my first commercial ever started a satanic panic.
Oh, my God. I mean, yeah, I would imagine that's going to be pretty helpful with future horror movie project down the line.
Yeah, because, you know, I've been putting work out forever. And, like, do people see it? Do they like it? Are they fast forwarding through it? So to have something kind of just, like, really get out there in such a crazy way, I don't know if this is ever going to happen again.
For good and for ill, I would imagine. Yeah.
I don't know if my nervous system could handle it again. But...
yeah, I would imagine that gap between TikTok is viral and meeting probably is a pretty bad window.
Yeah.
Rinee, this has been so much fun. Where can people find you if they want to find more about you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Rinee Shah. And RineeShah.com for my website.
And you can get LOL 101 definitely from Chronicle directly, but also pretty much any major bookstore, anywhere. I would imagine.
And watch out for the sequel coming out next year.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, we talked about before the recording. This is getting a sequel, and it is coming soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And also, hey, thank you out there for everybody who is listening to this. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe wherever you found the show or visit dididothat.design to find out other places that you can. If you got a moment, please rate, review, or share the show. This has been Did I Do That? I am Sean Schumacher. And as we always say at the close of every episode,
Did I do that?
that's what we always say. Okay, bye. That was great.
Thank you.
I think we're kind of perfectly on time, which is awesome.
I should have let us talk about the horror trailer more because that was such a wild story.
We can talk about it. I can cut it in if you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only project I've ever done that literally led to a satanic panic.
Okay, we do need to definitely talk about that. So, cancel end of show, everybody.